100:00:00:0033 00:00:06 800. Have you ever had a dream you just couldn't forget? Our story begins in a world woven from dreams. Meet Shimeng, our adorable female lead. Her name literally means time and dream. On the surface, she's a quiet girl who likes comics, music, and keeping a diary. She's a total sweetheart, a little nerdy, just an ordinary 17-year-old girl trying her best to live her life. A very easy-to-relate-to little cutie. But our girl has a secret. Her perfect, peaceful life is about to be completely turned upside down. It all starts when her friends suddenly corner her on the way to school. They tease her about some silver-haired guy. "Oh, hello there, handsome." Her friends simply refuse to let it go. That pretty boy asked her whether she dreamed last night, and our girl freezes on the spot, because here comes the tragic twist. Shimeng has never had a dream in her entire life, but she's determined to change that, no matter the cost. She's already on a mission. Later that day at school, a crowd gathers outside their classroom. Everyone is buzzing with gossip. Shimeng pushes through the crowd, wanting to see what's going on. Then her world stops. Her breath catches in her throat. A new student has arrived, and he is breathtakingly handsome, with icy silver hair and eyes that seem able to pierce right through the soul. Our girl is officially stunned. He just stares at her with an unreadable expression, and she can't look away at all. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife, but the teacher seems completely unaware. He keeps staring at her. The teacher introduces the new classmate, Lu Baican, and then the chaos begins. He walks straight down the aisle, and the whole class holds its breath. He is heading right toward our girl's desk. Without saying a word, he drives away her desk mate. Then he simply sits down beside her. The sheer arrogance is unbelievable. The first thing he says to her is, "Have you gotten a boyfriend recently?" Our poor heroine is completely dumbfounded. He just glares at her coldly. So she immediately fires back, "Is there something wrong with your head?" Then he suddenly grabs her. The classroom is empty, with only the two of them left. What on earth is going on? He picks up a pencil from her desk. Then, with a clean motion, he draws a sharp line across her arm. He leans close to her, his voice like a dangerous whisper. "I'm warning you. Stop thinking about dreaming." She jerks away, her heart pounding. This guy is absolutely insane. That night, our poor girl is at her wit's end. She tries watching horror movies, hoping a scare strong enough might finally unlock her dreams. Anything to get her brain working. "I must be losing my mind," she mutters wearily. In the end, she finally gives up and tries to sleep. But she isn't the only one suffering from insomnia. Elsewhere, our new unhinged classmate is also getting ready for bed. He slips a strange plain ring onto his finger. This is clearly no ordinary accessory. He closes his eyes, and then he enters a nightmare. He floats there, tormented by visions. He jolts awake, gasping for breath, while a strange energy swirls around him. Something lands on his desk with a clatter. A small, crumpled package appears out of thin air. He opens it and finds stones and bones inside. He brings it to his nose and takes a deep breath. The scent of nightmares. The gossip about the perfect, new transfer student has already spread like wildfire. But our girl Shimeng isn't buying it at all. After his arrogant behavior yesterday, she has sworn she will never have any feelings for him. She tries to focus on her homework, but that guy is already living rent-free in her head. The school day begins like usual. But while she's reading, her attention is interrupted when a snack mysteriously appears on her book. Of course it's him. He leans over and asks if she skipped breakfast, even teasing her about the dark circles under her eyes. She instantly goes into defensive mode and asks whether he didn't have that dream. She admits it. No, she didn't. He only smiles and tells her it doesn't matter if dreams are fragmented. But she is frustrated. To you, they might just be fragments. But to me, they're important. He simply tells her to wait a moment, then gives her a charming smile that leaves our poor girl completely flustered. He reaches into his pencil case and takes something out. It's an adorable little hair clip. Before she can react, he gently leans close to her and skillfully clips it in her hair, pinning back her bangs. "You look good wearing this too," he says with a smile. Seriously, this boy is practically weaponizing his charm right now. She picks up a mirror to look and can't help blushing. It really is cute. Our girl is completely panicking, but she still squeezes out a tiny smile and softly says thank you. Suddenly, the bell rings, snapping her out of the moment. She looks up, completely dazed. As the clock strikes noon, she thinks, what on earth is going on? It's only his second day after transferring, and he's already acting like the school belongs to him. The audacity. Later, she walks home, irritated as she thinks about how she forgot the books she needs for afternoon class, because she's been sleeping so badly. She arrives at her apartment building, wanting nothing more than to collapse and rest. When she finally reaches her floor, she hums softly while waiting for the elevator. She explains that room 601 is her home, while the next door room 602 used to be her mother's studio. Her mother is a painter, but she abandoned the studio last year because it still wasn't perfect enough for her. Our girl sighs, complaining that she definitely inherited her mother's impatience. She walks toward her own room 601, but when she enters the passcode, the lock only gives an error beep. What on earth is going on? Just then, she notices that the door to the old studio, room 602, is slightly open. The beeping continues, and she cautiously walks inside. The studio is just as it was when her mother left it, filled everywhere with messy art supplies. That strange beeping keeps going. She follows the sound and realizes it's coming from the bathroom. Someone is inside. Impossible. This studio has been empty for so long. How can anyone be here? She musters her courage and reaches out to open the door. She flings the door open and immediately collides head-on with a solid, sculpted wall of muscle. She has, quite literally, crashed into a shirtless boy. Her brain completely short-circuits. She slowly looks up, her face burning red, and meets the transfer student's calm, utterly unruffled eyes. She is so embarrassed she wants to vanish on the spot, her whole body pressed against his sharply defined abs. He merely looks down at her, like she's a mildly interesting little insect. Our girl's soul has already left her body. "Why are you here?" he asks, his voice dangerously low. That snaps her back to reality. She shoves him away and points at him accusingly, but he beats her to it. "Who let you in? This is my home." He announces it in an infuriatingly calm tone. "Your home?" She stammers. "Show me your property deed." He doesn't even blink. Instead, he leans closer, trapping her against the doorframe. His face is only a few inches from hers. "If you watch any more horror movies," he says in a low voice, "I'll let you experience what it's like to swallow something disgusting." She is stunned by the sheer arrogance of his threat. "Who do you think you are?" He ignores her outburst and points at some art supplies on the floor. "Are these yours?" he asks. Whether they're mine or not doesn't matter. She snaps back. Just then, the elevator dings and the studio door is pushed open. Both of them turn to look at the same time. "Dad?" our girl asks in confusion. Her father walks in and is just as surprised to see her. "HM, you moving already?" This is her dad, Siegwang. The transfer student immediately puts on a polite smile and greets him. Our girl is absolutely furious at his two-faced act. "Wait," she cuts in, trying to figure things out. "Dad, shouldn't you tell me how you two know each other first?" Her father only smiles, points at her, and says, "This is my daughter, Shimeng." Then he turns to the boy. "He's our new tenant, Lu Baican." "Tenant?" Our girl's world screeches to a halt. She is shocked to discover that her dad actually has a new tenant. He turns her around to face the newcomer, and it is him, the silver-haired troublemaker from class. She immediately pulls her father aside and whispers that she is firmly against it. But her father says her mother is a huge fan of his paintings and insisted on letting him stay. She is pushed back to the front, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Then he introduces himself to her father and casually drops a bombshell. He is also our girl's new classmate. Her father has no idea a war is brewing and is absolutely delighted. What a coincidence. He cheers, while our heroine is practically being steamed alive by her anger. She finally explodes, telling her dad that if he likes Lu Baican so much, he might as well move in with him. Then she dramatically turns and storms off, leaving the two men utterly baffled by her chaotic exit. That night, our girl is fuming in her room. She decides she can't watch horror movies anymore. It's time to switch to comic books and relax. She opens a book, ready to lose herself in a good story, and is immediately enchanted by the dreamy male lead. But her smile soon disappears because she realizes this handsome male lead looks exactly like him. An arrogant guy like him, she thinks, her mood instantly souring, deserves to be taught a lesson by me. And so, the revenge plan begins. She needs to find a way to make him embarrass himself in class. She sees a box beside her bed. A sinister idea begins to take shape. Inside are her diaries. This is it. A flash of inspiration strikes her, and she grabs her tools with pure determination. With her evil plans set, she dives onto her bed. Soon, she falls into a deep sleep, dreaming of sweet revenge. But when the clock strikes 11 at night, someone else is wide awake. Lu Baican slips out of the house like a ghost in the night, heading off toward a mysterious destination. The next day, our girl pours all the gossip out to her best friend at a cafe. Her mission now is to make that annoying classmate suffer, and her best friend suggests the old toothpaste and an Oreo trick, but our heroine isn't satisfied. Those pranks are way too outdated. She scoffs, even smacking her best friend. Then she reveals her genius plan involving a new stamp pad. She's going to carve one special word, nice and neat, and stamp it onto his chair. The word is idiot. Her best friend points out that colored ink would be obvious. Oh, but this is a high-tech stamp pad imported from Japan, and it changes color. When she stamps it on the chair, it's white, but the moment he sits down, it will turn a glorious, humiliating red. Her best friend is stunned by her wicked cleverness. But while they're plotting, a figure appears outside the window behind them. It's Lu Baican. He heard everything, and there's even a smug little smile on his face. Later, a mysterious package appears. Inside are some fresh, steaming dumplings. Lu Baican discovers them, picks one up, and puts it in his mouth. Tastier than yesterday's, he thinks thoughtfully. The next morning, a confrontation takes place at the front door. Our girl and he open their doors almost at the exact same time. The timing is far too perfect. He gives her a knowing, wicked smile. She just stands there, internally exploding. In the end, they enter the elevator together, and the silence is deafening. They stand on opposite sides, pretending the other doesn't exist. She secretly sniffs. Then, against her better judgment, she thinks he smells really good. She's even already wondering what body lotion he uses. Girl, focus. The elevator doors finally open. They walk out, still not saying a word, the tension visible to the naked eye. The weather is nice, so she can finally ride her bike, and she's a little excited. But Lu Baican suddenly stops her. You can't ride your bike today. She's completely baffled by his strange remark. Psycho, she mutters, worried he'll make her late. She walks toward the bike rack, but when she reaches her own bicycle, she freezes. The tire is completely flat. She whips around and immediately accuses him. Did you puncture my tire? But he only says coldly and simply no. She is completely stunned. He just watches as she falls into total panic. It's already 7 in the morning. She decides to take the bus, but then immediately realizes a horrifying fact. She forgot her coin purse. There's no time to run back up to the 6th floor. She's definitely not going to make it. Lu Baican starts walking forward. In a moment of absolute desperation, she chases after him, shouting for him to wait. She catches up to him, panting. The poor girl can only swallow her pride. Are you taking the bus? She asks quietly. He nods. She takes a deep breath and asks to borrow money from him. To her surprise, he nods again. While waiting for the bus, she can't help muttering that he really is a pain. They stand awkwardly at the bus stop. At last, they get on the bus. And just like that, her chaotic morning forces them into an awkward temporary alliance. The bus doors slide open, and our girl's mood instantly gets worse because there he is, Lu Baican, looking like a silver-haired prince who has just stepped out of comic. Of course, the other girls are already going crazy over him, whispering that he's her new classmate and that they came to school by bus together. The gossip vultures are already circling, wondering what could possibly be so special about her that she got the campus prince's attention. They even start guessing whether he might be her long-lost brother or some other equally ridiculous relationship. Hearing their nonsense, Lu Baican can't help thinking that their imaginations are truly vicious. Fed up with the drama, our girl storms ahead of him. The road to school has now become a chaotic, awkward, silent battlefield. But our heroine is not someone who will just take things quietly, so she quickly makes a stop at a convenience store. When she comes out, she has a bright and slightly evil smile on her face. A plan is brewing. Back at school, she corners her best friend, looking extremely suspicious. She takes out 2 cups of yogurt drink. Her best friend immediately asks, worried, whether she really plans to do this. Oh, she absolutely does. She explains that she sealed the lids perfectly, so no one can tell they were ever opened. 1 cup is normal, while the other has a secret ingredient, a large amount of mustard. The plan is simple. Her best friend will enthusiastically share the yogurt and make sure the spicy one ends up in the target's hands. The bell rings, and she spots her prey in the hallway. She walks toward him and casually pretends to offer to pay him back for the bus fare. He just looks at her expressionlessly and says, "You've already said that." That's the signal for her best friend to enter. Her best friend rushes over, holding 2 cups of yogurt she accidentally bought too many of. The girl plays along beautifully, gracefully accepting the kindness. Then her best friend hands the other cup of yogurt to Lu Baican. The 2 troublemakers exchange a secret, victorious look. The trap has been set. But wait, Lu Baican doesn't take the yogurt for himself. He turns and hands it to his friend. He even has the nerve to say, "Shimeng said this is for you." And just like that, the plan backfires spectacularly. The 2 of them shout in horror, "Don't drink it." Our girl lunges forward and slaps the yogurt out of his hand at the very last second. She tries to smooth things over, rambling that her friend was just joking and that the yogurt doesn't taste good at all. She points at the confused Lu Baican and says he'll buy him a new one. Then she quickly walks to the nearest trash can. She throws the evidence inside. In her heart, she is burning with rage, swearing that she will make Lu Baican pay for this humiliation. She storms back to her seat, ready to confront him, but suddenly stops in place. He is already sitting there calmly reading, as if nothing happened. Just as she's about to give him a fierce lesson, he looks up, his sharp eyes locking onto her. Then he drops a bomb. "So the person you like is him?" She is completely stunned by his accusation. He thinks she likes his friend. She sits back down in her seat, and in a moment of pure chaos, she cups his face in both hands. He freezes, clearly not expecting her to suddenly be so forceful. "Hey, I'm warning you," she says through gritted teeth. "Watch what you say." He merely curls his lips, completely unafraid of her threat. She has had enough of his tricks. "We're not on the same wavelength at all," she declares, withdrawing her hands. "So let's change seats." But when she tries to leave, he grabs her hand, his grip firm. "That's impossible," he says in a low, serious voice. "I came here for you, and I'm not going anywhere." Shimeng froze completely. She yanked her hand back. Her mind was in total chaos. This had to be a joke, right? She stammered, but the next second, her gaze fell on his arm. That deep wound from before had completely healed. There was not even a scar. Her confusion was so obvious that the whole classroom fell silent. Everyone stared at them. "What is going on?" she asked in a low voice. "Did I say something wrong?" Her friend quickly grabbed her shoulders and pushed her back into her seat. "What is wrong with you?" he whispered. Before she could answer, the classroom door was yanked open with a bang. It was that demon of a discipline teacher. Her eyes immediately locked on a Lu Baican's casual clothes. She stretched out her finger of judgment and pointed straight at him. "You," the boy not wearing the school uniform. "Out." Without a single protest, he stood up and calmly walked out of the classroom. Shimeng just stared blankly, completely bewildered by everything that had happened that morning. Then she suddenly came to her senses and shot up from her seat in shock. She quickly turned around and flipped up the back of her skirt, only to find that it had been covered in little pig drawings. Her friend could not hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. Shimeng was furious. She realized the little pig sticker on the chair could only mean one thing. When on earth had he had the nerve to swap out her chair? She knew far too well who was behind this chaotic aura. But before she could shout his name, a hand gently tapped her shoulder. It was Lu Baican himself. Completely calm, he handed her his jacket. Our poor female lead was so shocked that she could not speak. Her brain crashed on the spot. She just stared at him, trying to figure out what exactly he was up to. He explained that school would not be over for a while, so she should use his jacket to cover herself for now. He casually draped the jacket over her shoulders. Her friends watched the whole scene, utterly confused. And just like that, he turned around and left without another word. Her friend called her name, still trying to process what had just happened, but Shimeng had had enough. She stormed up to the rooftop to vent. She stood at the edge, his annoying smirk replaying over and over in her mind. "Lu Baican, thank you so much." Then she completely exploded, yelling at the top of her lungs. "Girl, scream out all that rage." Meanwhile, in the principal's office, a completely different scene was unfolding. The principal asked Lu Baican in shock, "So you actually sneeze?" Lu Baican slammed the school uniform onto the desk with a look of disgust. "I'm probably allergic to your hideous school uniform," he said expressionlessly, his tongue sharper than ever. The principal begged him to follow the rules, especially since he had come here in the first place to get close to her. But Lu Baican brought up a condition. "Help me investigate another student." The principal immediately agreed in a panic, as long as Lu Baican would wear the uniform. He asked who else he was interested in besides Xiaomei. Lu Baican gave him a new name. Lu Bai. Back on campus, the chaos continued. Shimeng was desperately trying to convince her friends that Lu Baican was a genuine vampire. They, to put it mildly, did not believe a single word. She was so anxious she was about to break down and shouted, "Why won't you believe me?" They burst into laughter, thinking the idea was completely ridiculous. Her friend analyzed that a real vampire should be hiding in the shadows, not swaggering around the school. But she insisted she had seen his wound miraculously heal overnight with her own eyes. Her friend only teased her, saying she had probably remembered the wrong arm. "But I heard everything," she shouted. And unfortunately, right then, the man himself appeared. Lu Baican stood there, completely unmoved by the accusations. Shimeng's fighting spirit was ignited, and she challenged him directly. "So what if you heard everything? Do you dare let her see your arm?" To her shock, he immediately held out his arm and let her inspect it. She stared at that arm, utterly dumbfounded. How is that possible? She grabbed his arm and examined it carefully. The deep wound from yesterday was now only a faint scratch. "You obviously just scratched yourself," she accused, refusing to believe her own eyes. But he took the opportunity to hold her hand and leaned closer to her. "You mean I would deliberately hurt myself just to make you believe me?" Then he gave her a devilish smile and twisted the knife. "In that case, shouldn't you apologize to me for this scar?" After saying that, he turned and left, leaving her completely speechless. Her friend only sighed and said history seemed to keep repeating itself with Shimeng. But our female lead was not someone who would give up so easily. That night, she put on her detective hat and secretly sneaked into his apartment building. "Just you wait," she whispered, determined to uncover the truth. She carefully pushed open his unlocked door, flashlight in hand, ready to face anything. "Today, I'm definitely going to expose your true identity." She quietly walked toward the place she thought was his bedroom. She pushed open the door and peeked inside, but there was no sleeping vampire in there. Instead, he was wide awake and sitting on the floor, staring straight at her. It was over. She had been caught, completely caught red-handed. Shimeng had cautiously poked her head into the wrong room, only to meet the eyes of that mysterious silver-haired boy. He immediately glared at her and demanded to know what she was doing there. She panicked completely, stammering an apology and saying she had gone to the wrong room. Our female lead turned and ran, but her escape was cut short almost immediately because she stepped on a rolling bottle cap. Her eyes widened in terror. As she lost her balance and began to fall, she crashed hard onto the floor, landing heavily on her butt and crying out in pain. Worse still, her flashlight rolled away from her hand and stopped neatly at his feet. He looked down at it, completely unmoved, and asked why she was still awake in the middle of the night. Sitting on the floor, she wondered why the strong light had no effect on him at all. This was a huge danger signal. He casually kicked the flashlight back and told her to stop playing such boring pranks, as if she had really done it on purpose. Then he threatened that if she used the spare key to come in again, he would change the lock. She was shocked that he even knew about the key, but he only told her mysteriously, "I'm the person in this world who understands you best." He returned the flashlight to her, but just then, her phone rang. It was her father calling. Shimeng looked like she was about to completely break down. Now she was truly done for. Just as she fell into a panic, he suddenly reached out and pressed a hand on her head, then answered the call for her with an aura of pure chaos. He lied in the most natural tone you had ever heard, telling her father she had only gone to the bathroom. After hanging up, he told her to go back and sleep. He ended the call and returned the phone to her, leaving our female lead utterly speechless. Covered in dust from her little adventure, she timidly asked if she could borrow a set of clothes to change into. His response was vicious. "No, your smell will contaminate my clothes." But this tsundere still had a soft side after all. He told her that once she was clean, he would leave the clothes at the door. As she walked toward the bathroom, he muttered to himself that the quality of the food must be worrying, whatever that was supposed to mean. Shimeng was enjoying a much-needed hot shower when the power suddenly went out. She heard him approaching and immediately yelled that he was not allowed to come in, but he only slid a clean shirt to her under the door. A moment later, she came out wearing his oversized shirt. She looked incredibly embarrassed. He handed her the flashlight and told her to go back to sleep. She grumbled that he was meddling, but just as he turned to leave, she softly and sincerely said thank you. The next morning, she got ready for school and walked toward the door. The moment she reached the hallway, he blocked her path. He stared at her with an intense gaze. She immediately stiffened, as though a dark aura were rising around her. He got straight to the point. "My clothes." She could hardly believe it and argued that he had to wear the school uniform anyway. But he said coldly, "My things belong only to me." He grabbed her arm and kept her from leaving. She seized the chance, looked straight into his eyes, and asked if he really had the ability to heal himself. In response, he took her hand and placed it at his side, confirming it with one simple word: yes. After that, he appeared in the principal's office and pushed aside a file. It was a report he had requested on another student, Lu Baican. The principal reported that the boy's parents were both overseas and that he lived alone. The principal then tried to hand him a gift, but our male lead coldly refused, unwilling to become one with inferior creatures. Sweating profusely, the principal reminded him that he had once saved his life. But the mysterious silver-haired boy only gave him a death stare, reminding him that what he said out loud had never necessarily been what he truly thought. The poor principal trembled in fear. Back at school, Shimeng was huddled with her friends, planning their next step. Since he had already admitted he had an ability, she said the next step was to catch him in the act. Her friend pointed out that the flashlight trick had not worked, which gave our female lead a new theory. He had to be a high-level vampire. That meant they needed a new weapon, and there was one thing no vampire could resist: the temptation of blood. When the boys heard that the mission required blood, they immediately panicked. One of them broke down on the spot, thinking Shimeng was about to sacrifice them for the greater good. He looked at his friends and wondered if Shimeng was really that ruthless. But Shimeng had no intention of sacrificing anyone. She simply patted another friend on the head, praised him with an unbearably sweet smile, and handed the entire blood-collecting mission over to him. The poor boy was completely stunned and confused. Shimeng just blinked confidently and dazzlingly, without the slightest fear. The newly appointed errand runner sighed, already worrying about this impossible task. After all, robbing a blood bank probably would not look great on a high school transcript. But just then, inspiration struck. If human blood would not work, what about chicken blood? Shimeng thought the idea was absolutely genius, but their brainstorming was interrupted by a friend running toward them in terror. She crashed straight into Shimeng's arms, completely hysterical and gasping for breath. She grabbed Shimeng's shoulders, her eyes wide with panic, and tearfully explained that she had seen Lu Baican, that silver-haired pretty boy, together with Zhu Yujun, the goody two-shoes from the neighboring class. Shimeng narrowed her eyes. She remembered Zhu Yujun far too clearly. The person who had tattled and gotten her friends in trouble. Not to mention, she was the same girl who had humiliated her in public at the last debate competition. Meanwhile, we saw Lu Baican, the person at the center of the gossip, gently petting a stray cat. Zhu Yujun approached him, wanting to give him a new phone, but he gave her the coldest possible treatment, saying only, "I don't want it." Then he walked away with the kitten in his arms. Zhu Yujun was publicly rejected and fumed with anger. And who was watching this entire chaotic drama unfold? Shimeng and her squad, hiding in the bushes like seasonal spies. One friend was obsessed with how rich and cool he looked, but Shimeng was not buying it at all. She swore she would expose his true identity tonight. Back at school, everyone questioned Shimeng about how she knew Lu Baican was immune to their light test. One of them jumped straight to the conclusion and asked if the two of them were living together. Shimeng hurriedly denied it and quickly made up a lie, saying she had followed him home. Suddenly, the friend with glasses pointed out that a huge crowd had gathered around Shimeng's desk. The whole squad was confused. What kind of new disaster was this? The crowd was simply gathered around a dirty little kitten, praising it nonstop. It was that same cat from earlier, and Lu Baican had brought it into the classroom. Shimeng sat down, ready to give him a proper lecture. She told him she did not mind the cat, but he had actually put it inside her brand new limited edition designer bag. That was way too bold. She was about to explode, but the kitten simply gave an adorable meow, and Shimeng instantly lost. To solve the problem, Lu Baican directly slapped a thick stack of cash on her desk. The whole class was stunned by his rich guy behavior, but Shimeng was not buying it. She pushed the money back and said she did not need it. She only wanted him to give her advance notice. But now, as punishment, he had to agree to one request from her. After school, her chaotic revenge plan began. She told Lu Baican she was going running and ordered him to be her water boy. But her other friends completely messed up their own task. What they bought was not garlic-flavored chocolate, but cheap discounted chocolate beans, because one of them had gotten hungry. Just as Shimeng was about to lose her temper, the friend with glasses arrived, carrying a mysterious black bag. He proudly announced that he had gotten chicken blood. Shimeng was overjoyed and shook him excitedly, but before she could ask where he got it, he simply smiled and told her to hurry because her target had arrived. He gently pushed her forward, sending her off to carry out this grand plan. Shimeng looked out at the school track, fists clenched and face full of determination. She had just had a nosebleed, and the smell made her feel a little nauseous. But the moment she saw her target, she immediately started waving and shouted that she was here, completely ignoring the suspicious bloodstain on her apron. Meanwhile, the gossiping crowd on the sidelines was already ready to watch the show. Lu Baican, the silver-haired ice prince, finally turned around and walked toward her. As he got closer and closer, Shimeng trembled with nerves. His gaze was frighteningly cold, but then the plot suddenly took a cruel turn. He completely ignored her and walked right past her. This was the ultimate disrespect. The gossip squad on the sidelines could not believe it. One of them whispered, "Do you really think Lu Baican is a vampire?" Her friend glanced at her and yanked open a bag. Were those coffee beans? The bag burst open with a bang. The poor boy ended up with beans all over his face. Shimeng realized in shock that he had not gone to drink the blood the way she had expected. A stray bean bounced off her head. She stood there completely dazed. Suddenly, beans began raining down. Then a flash of light appeared, and a blurred figure swept across the field. Everyone screamed as they watched the strange phenomenon happen. Amid the chaos, their eyes met. His gaze was sharp and tense. Shimeng let out a scream. Startled, she took a step back, stepped right on a bean, and lost her balance. She flailed her arms and fell backward in dramatic slow motion, while our male lead merely watched with icy indifference as she hit the ground. Her friends were terrified and quickly rushed to her side, asking if she was all right. But Shimeng did not care at all about her scraped knee. She pointed a trembling finger at him and shouted, "Monster! He made a monster bite me." Then we saw it. The so-called monster was actually the tiniest, cutest little kitten hiding behind his leg. Shimeng went from fear to confusion, then to wanting to disappear from embarrassment over her own chaotic imagination. Her friends helped her up and suggested taking her to clean up. "Looks like Prince Charming isn't a vampire after all," she murmured, stating the obvious. Our female lead looked back at the silver-haired boy. He still did not say a word. He just stood there, effortlessly cool, his expression unreadable. But you knew he was definitely judging her hard. But their little soap opera was interrupted by a booming voice asking what exactly they were doing. Oh, it was the teacher, and he looked very unhappy. He looked down at the whole group of troublemakers. The girls looked like they wished the ground would swallow them whole. The teacher closed in on them and demanded an explanation. Their friend had a flash of inspiration and held up a trash bag, claiming they were just protecting the campus environment. The expression on the teacher's face clearly said he did not believe a single word of that terrible excuse. The class monitor with glasses tried to smooth things over with the principal, saying they only wanted to help maintain the campus environment. But the principal did not buy it at all. Being covered in blood counts as maintaining the campus environment? He roared. Shimeng and her friends immediately panicked, thinking they were completely finished. Just then, a tiny kitten came to the rescue, rubbing against Lu Baican's leg. The principal nearly lost his mind and demanded to know what they were doing with a cat in a strange magic circle. But when Lu Baican calmly said, "This is my cat," the principal's entire attitude changed instantly. He nervously cleared his throat. The other students watched the scene and were certain Lu Baican was about to be expelled, but he simply turned around, the kitten perched on his shoulder. Then he started walking away. The principal was visibly sweating and stammered that they would let it go today. He quickly dismissed the remaining students while wiping his forehead, clearly letting out a huge sigh of relief. The kids still had not recovered from a shock, but they hurriedly agreed to clean the place up. As they cleared away the mess, they could not help wondering what absurd background Lu Baican had that let him walk away completely unscathed. Shimeng muttered that if they had known no one could afford to mess with him, they would never have gone to so much trouble. Her friend pointed out that at least they had proven he was not a vampire, but Shimeng was not so sure. The class monitor also chimed in with a ridiculous theory, saying he might be an advanced mutant vampire. Sure, Of course he would say that. Everyone watched him leave, completely unable to figure out what relationship he had with the principal. The fangirl in the group had already been utterly bewitched by her mysterious Prince Charming. The next day at school, a sleepy-eyed Shimeng was walking through the courtyard. She saw Lu Baican looking as gloomy as ever, and of course, he was surrounded by a huge crowd of screaming fangirls. Shimeng was completely fed up. Just then, her friend ran over with terrifying news. The midterm exam results had been posted. Poor Shimeng's blood instantly ran cold as she realized her fate had already been sealed. Her friend gently patted her head to comfort her while dragging her toward her doom. They arrived in front of the bulletin board, which was already packed with people, and there was only one person at the center of the crowd, Lu Baican. The results were written there in black and white. Lu Baican, first place in the entire school. The crowd instantly exploded. His friend asked in shock how he had taken first place when he had only been at the school for 2 weeks. Lu Baican's answer was pure, undisguised venom. For questions this simple, is there any reason to get them wrong? That arrogance made Shimeng and her friends burn with anger. They searched farther down the list for their own names, and then they finally saw it, right at the very bottom. 250th place, Shimeng. Her soul practically left her body on the spot, while her friends desperately tried not to laugh. She immediately grabbed one of them and threatened that if he laughed again, she would drink him dry. She tried to defend her disastrous score by blaming it on severe test anxiety, but the class monitor offered another diagnosis, saying her lack of dreaming had caused her brain to malfunction. He concluded that she had failed because there was something wrong with her memory, and she immediately nodded enthusiastically in agreement. Then he put his own glasses on her face. He gave her a bright smile and promised to tutor her. Shimeng instantly blushed and became a total mess inside, but Lu Baican, watching from the side, completely misunderstood the scene. A dangerous thought flashed through his mind. She likes glasses. Shimeng was lost in her own thoughts and completely failed to watch where she was going. As a result, she slammed straight into his back and cried out in pain. He turned around, his expression still so cold that no one could read it. He asked if she was so desperate to dream because she was suffering. Then he said the most poisonous thing imaginable, because you're stupid. No way. He actually said it. Shimeng was furious and insisted that according to the research Lu Mubai had helped her look up, not dreaming could lead to serious brain dysfunction, but she did not even get to finish. The name Lu Mubai instantly set him off, and he went straight into full chibi rage mode. Without saying a word, he grabbed her wrist. The sudden physical contact left her completely stunned. He fastened a bracelet around her wrist while she stammered in total confusion. He held her arm up, displayed the new accessory, and ordered her, "Wear it when you sleep." He gave her absolutely no room to argue. That night, she returned to her room, still completely baffled by the whole thing. She stretched and decided that he was just an especially strange person. She looked down at the bracelet, which had a cute little charm hanging from it. She wondered if it was ceramic, while remembering his strange order. But right after that, her rebellious side emerged. She snorted coldly and said, "As if I'd listen to you." She stuck out her tongue provocatively, the very picture of a petty resistance queen. After crawling under the covers, she muttered one last time that he was really weird, then put the bracelet on her nightstand and slowly fell asleep. And just like that, she once again fell into a nightmare. She ran until she could barely breathe, screaming for the pursuer behind her to stop chasing her. She sprinted along the track in the dead of night, shouting for help as a monstrous, giant black hand reached toward her. She looked back in absolute terror, and what she saw was him, but something was very, very wrong. He had turned into a walking test paper with a huge score of 25 written on it, basically a living failing grade. Poor Shimeng let out a heart-rending scream as the test paper monster chased her around the track, making her shriek the entire way. But the paper person was too clumsy and immediately tripped. In the real world, the boy jolted awake, his face full of confusion. He sat up in bed and tried to make sense of that absurdly chaotic dream, but in the end, he could only sigh and mutter, "That idiot." He covered his face, still unable to recover from the second-hand embarrassment brought on by that nightmare. He opened a strange box. Using a fork, he took out one of the dream beads inside and placed it in his mouth. The next second, his expression immediately turned awful because the horrible taste of her nightmare hit him. He knew very well why it tasted so bad. She had not worn the bracelet while sleeping. He spat it out in disgust, utterly sickened by the foul taste. Irritated, he looked out the window His little ginger cat was playing on the desk. It was right next to the ring on his finger. He took off the ring and placed it on the desk. The kitten immediately began pawing at it. As he stroked the cat, he thought about how her dreams have been getting worse and worse lately. He gave the kitten a proper rub, sinking into thought. The next morning, we meet a new face preparing to go to school. This is Huda, and he is fixing up his new buzz cut. His life goal is to become a delinquent, and he is already ready to make his official debut. He strikes a pose, prepared to become the toughest person at school. He heads out full of confidence, because in his imagination, delinquents are strong, very, very strong, until he immediately runs into actual delinquents and bursts into tears on the spot. The guy who wanted to act tough is now hugging his cat and begging them to spare him. But those thugs are only getting started. They look down at the sobbing, miserable mess in front of them. Just then, a cold voice cuts in. You're blocking the way. It is our silver-haired dream eater, looking sleepy and annoyed. It turns out he's only in a bad mood because Shimeng rode her bike to school without taking him along. The thugs are unhappy and tell him to get lost. He merely looks at them expressionlessly and lets out an, huh. They take their stances, ready to fight. Huda sees this as a god descending and prays that this new hero will save him. The boy glances over the scene. 3 hooligans against 1 crying kid. He thinks for 1 second, then sighs. Fine. 1 heavy blow, then 1 final hit. All 3 thugs collapse to the ground. Huda is completely dumbfounded and swears to his mother that he will follow this great man for the rest of his life. The new transfer student has now been given VIP treatment by his #1 fanboy. The poor guy follows him like a lost puppy, constantly calling him boss. And of course, there is no way this chaotic spectacle goes unnoticed. In fact, Shimeng's friends appear again, and they are completely absorbed in the excitement. The moment fanboy Huda looks up and sees them, his eyes turn into sparkling stars. Just being in front of them nearly makes him blush. But our silver-haired pretty boy, Lu Baican, does not care at all and only gives everyone an extremely icy look. Naturally, this gives Shimeng's friends a very, very bad idea. They decide to make this ice prince suffer a little setback and plot a prank against him. But when a leaf falls onto his head, Huda completely loses his cool, screaming internally about how important his hair is. Just then, the bell rings, announcing the end of school. But before the teacher can finish, he suddenly drops a bombshell. Anyone who failed the last exam must take a makeup test, or they will be banned from next week's major extracurricular activity. Class is dismissed, and the nightmare officially begins. Shimeng's friend immediately starts falling apart. She wails in despair. It's over. Shimeng is doomed. That's right. The poor heroine completely bombed this exam, and now she's going to miss the super cool laser battle event. And this is not just any ordinary activity. Rumor has it the principal poured the entire school budget into it. While Shimeng cries her eyes out, Huda watches her from the back of the classroom with a strange expression on his face. To him, her failing grade means something far more ominous. He clutches his own throat, dark determination gathering in his eyes. He's going to take action himself. That night, under cover of darkness, a shadow quietly sneaks into Shimeng's room. It is Huda. While she is asleep, he gently fastens a glowing, starry-looking bracelet around her wrist, the delicate chain settling against her arm. The next second, Shimeng's eyes snap open, but she is no longer in bed. She is in an empty classroom, her face full of confusion. Suddenly, a cold voice slices through the silence. Let's begin. She looks up and sees none other than Huda in front of her. He is wearing glasses and looks like a very serious, very handsome private tutor. He pushes up his glasses and announces that her tutoring session is about to begin. The classroom is empty, with only the 2 of them inside. Why are we the only 2 here? She asks. But he just brushes her off coldly. Does it matter? Oh, it definitely matters, bro. She suddenly notices the strange rabbit bracelet on her wrist and immediately looks disgusted, declaring that she would never willingly choose to be alone with him, then demanding to know where her friends are. He looks straight into her eyes and says, they won't be coming back. Shimeng is completely bewildered and asks him what he means. With a faint smile, he lays out his condition. If you want to see them again, you have to listen to me. She is utterly shocked and roars. Who do you think you are? His answer is, I am your master. Shimeng is dazed. Is this guy serious? She decides to fight madness with madness. So she gives a sarcastic bow and asks, "Dear master, would you like something to eat?" That mockery is absolutely beautiful, but he is just as strange and answers, "I only want to devour your dreams." She immediately stands up and shuts him down. "Too bad. I never dream." After retorting, she says she has had enough of his nonsense. She turns and leaves, casually waving goodbye. But just as she walks away, he takes off his glasses and calls her name. "Shimeng, do you remember how you got here?" She freezes. A terrifying truth rises in her heart. She has absolutely no memory of it. The scene fast-forwards to her friends gathered around her exam results. Their jaws nearly drop from shock as they scream in disbelief. She did not just pass. She scored extremely well in every subject. Shimeng only shrugs and says she did not even cram at the last minute. The truth is, she has no idea why she knew those answers. Her friends obviously do not believe a word of it. But who cares how she did it? The important thing is that she can finally go play laser battle with everyone. As her friends celebrate around her, Huda sits in the back row watching the scene, a knowing little smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. It seems his secret tutoring was a perfect success. His secret victory does not completely escape everyone's notice. Another student glances over and catches his rare expression. In class, the teacher sternly warns everyone that there is an exhibitionist in the area. He urges all the students to go straight home after school and not linger outside. Most of the students look worried. Shimeng's friend, however, is already ready for war. Her squad immediately starts cheering her on, completely won over by her chaotic energy. But our silver-haired male lead, Lu Baican, does not understand at all and asks his friend what an exhibitionist is. His companion can only sigh, thinking that Baican is once again lacking basic common sense. The girls quickly explain that it means a pervert who likes taking off his clothes. Just thinking about it sends a wave of horror through everyone. Baican turns to Shimeng and asks if she is afraid of that kind of person. She nervously admits that she is, although she has never actually seen one before. Baican's brain starts working at high speed, linking her fear to nightmares and awful-tasting dreams. "Okay, weirdo." He gently pats her head, his expression becoming incredibly serious. "I'll take care of him," he declares with heroic determination. After saying that, he grabs his school bag and strides out of the classroom. The entire squad is charmed by his masculinity, and one of them even volunteers to go with him. Startled, Baican stops in his tracks. He turns around and asks with the most serious expression, "What does an exhibitionist look like?" The whole friend group covers their faces in unison, thinking that he really is an absolute idiot. That night, the group begins carrying out their plan. They lie in ambush near an apartment building, preparing to catch the pervert themselves. Shimeng looks a little hesitant, but her friend insists this is the only way to eliminate a public menace. Another friend has already set up a professional camera, because of course she has. Shimeng can only sigh, thinking that her friends are beyond saving. Just as they question whether any of this is really necessary, an approaching figure shocks them frozen. A pair of high heels clicks crisply against the pavement, and a woman in a very stylish business outfit appears. But wait, that is Lu Baican cross-dressing as bait, and he is obviously furious about it. He strikes a pose, radiating pure, undisguised rage and charm. The friend holding the camera immediately goes wild, snapping photos like her life depends on it. She even sheds tears of happiness and declares that Lu Baican is her one and only dream man and dream woman. But the chaos is not over, because his green-haired friend also appears in a dress and asks if she is sure. He strikes his own pose too, wearing a puffy blue dress, and somehow looking unexpectedly elegant. The friends are all shocked into silence. They cannot believe that these two boys are even prettier than most girls. Their friend Huda suddenly calls for a stop, completely confused. He carefully sizes up the two tall beauties and asks if they are over 1.8 meters tall. Both of them nod, not understanding what the big deal is. At that moment, Huda completely breaks down. He grabs Shimeng and shakes her hard, yelling about what kind of idiot would like women that tall. Shimeng is completely unaffected and merely says dreamily, "But aren't they beautiful?" Lu Baican demands that she pay attention to him, his competitive spirit instantly igniting. He points at himself and his friend and asks her which of them looks better. Shimeng can only stare at him in disbelief, thinking that he really is an absolute idiot. Baican is practically fuming, while the photographer continues her shoot. Suddenly, she stops. "Wait, where did Huda go?" she asks. Everyone looks around and realizes that their loudmouth friend is gone. A faint cry for help comes from the distance. Everyone immediately realizes it is him. Meanwhile, the real plan has already begun, and one poor girl is running for his life. The real exhibitionist is chasing him, saying he has something to show him. Inevitably, he trips and falls to the ground. He lands flat on his face, and his wig flies off, revealing their bald friend. The pervert screams in terror. A monk. And just then, Huda appears and unleashes a fierce whirlwind kick. He lands a perfect hit on the pervert's face, sending him flying sideways. The others also arrive at the scene, including the two cross-dressing heroes. The green-haired friend, still wearing a dress, shouts and asks if everyone is okay. After that, the entire squad is dragged into the principal's office for an epic lecture. The principal looks as if he has aged 10 years in the past hour, while the kids stand in a line, trembling as they await their doom. He slams the desk and completely explodes, angrily scolding them about just how dangerous their little adventure was. But before he can properly enjoy yelling at them, a cold voice interrupts him. "Don't scare her." The chill in Lu Baican's voice freezes the principal on the spot. The principal struggles to recover and starts lecturing them, saying he is responsible for them, and if anything happened, he would have to answer to their parents. The kids just stand there, their minds blank and utterly thoughtless. Just then, the principal completely breaks down and starts crying like a fountain, sobbing about how stressful his job is. He clutches his head and wails for them to look at what this job has done to him, to look at how bald he has become. But that terrifying female teacher has had enough of his performance. She turns her attack on Shimeng, points at her, and demands, "Look at you. How can a girl dress like that?" And the punishment for this heinous crime is cleaning the school toilets. Everyone looked at our heroine, terrified on her behalf. The next second, in an atmosphere that was chaotic yet incredibly united, they all threw themselves at the principal's legs and begged for mercy. But unexpectedly, Teacher Fong actually spoke up for her, saying that safety was more important than dress code rules. They all bowed deeply, practically weeping with gratitude for his mercy. Shimeng wasted no time at all, grabbed her friends, and hurriedly slipped away. They slammed the door shut and did not look back. But just when they thought they were finally free, the principal called out, "Lu Baican can stay." His friends glanced at him, then went out, leaving him behind. Lu Baican closed the door, and now only he and the principal were left alone. The principal's expression turned serious. He had only just called out his name when Lu Baican immediately raised a finger to his lips. He gestured for him to look at the doorway. After a while, he confirmed that everyone had already left. Only then did the principal take out a document and a brand new phone, telling Lu Baican that he had bought it with his own savings. Lu Baican took the box, looking as if he had already been rendered completely speechless by the whole situation. Later that day, he arrived outside an apartment building. He saw Shimeng standing at her own front door, staring at a note someone had left for her. He stood behind her, looking at her with concern. He knew he could not just leave her there like that, so he walked up and asked what was wrong. She was startled, not expecting him to be there. She showed him a note her parents had left. It turned out they had abandoned her to go on a 3-day cruise, taken her phone with them, and locked her out. Seeing that she had nowhere to go, he asked the key question, "Do you want to come to my place?" She completely panicked, but then he took out his secret weapon, an adorable little cat. General, she could not resist that fluffy little thing at all and immediately agreed. She followed him into his apartment. She muttered that it was not as if this place was really his anyway. She swore she saw the corner of his mouth lift slightly and immediately called him out on the spot. He instantly denied it, turned around, and crossed his arms, acting so ridiculously tsundere it was almost unbearable. They sat down at the table, the little cat between them, while an awkward yet peaceful silence filled the room. He glanced at her, his expression unreadable, yet unexpectedly gentle. Shimeng's mind was spinning wildly. She was actually alone at home with a boy. What on earth was she supposed to do? Meanwhile, his thoughts had already flown to another planet, where he was pondering how to maintain the cat's mood in order to ensure food quality. He remembered calling her an idiot in her dream, and somehow that had made him hungry. Bro, what kind of situation is this? Right then, her stomach let out a thunderous growl, and he had to force himself not to laugh. He stood up and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to dinner." But as he walked away, he was thinking to himself that humans really were troublesome. They arrived at the mall, but the greatest challenge still lay ahead, deciding what to eat. Our silver-haired boy fell into a full-blown existential crisis over the dinner menu. Shimeng, however, knew exactly what she wanted. She spotted the most magnificent and expensive-looking crab restaurant in the entire building, and her eyes lit up instantly. He followed her gaze and looked over, a little worried. Did she really want to eat those? He thought to himself, probably already imagining his wallet crying. As they approached, the huge crab sign was practically calling her name. But reality hit her like a ton of bricks. She immediately panicked, saying it was way too expensive and that she could not possibly owe him that much money. But then he remembered his father saying that he should be gentle with girls. So he offered to treat this meal as an apology for being such a jerk when they first met. Shimeng was completely stunned and stammered that all of that was already in the past. He went on, saying to just consider it a one-time treat, then asked if she was sure she wanted to miss it. Her inner world completely collapsed, blaming him for tempting her with something so delicious. Because she was so conflicted, her fox ears and tail both popped out. But her stomach had a will of its own, and her body betrayed every thought in her head, stepping toward the call of buttery seafood. She marched ahead with fierce determination, leaving him watching her from behind. But wait, they were being watched. Another girl from their class had seen them, and she only had eyes for our male lead, blushing furiously as she looked at him. This girl was not subtle at all. She even pulled out her phone and took a photo of them walking into the restaurant together. Girl, that is called evidence. Inside the restaurant, Shimeng had already ascended to pure happiness, crazily stuffing every crab she could fit into her mouth. She asked him why he was not eating, and he simply said expressionlessly that he was not hungry. She reminded him that this was a buffet and charge per person, but he just told her to eat her own food and watched her with satisfaction. Curious, she asked if he was some rich young master who had only come to experience commoner life. He immediately shut her down with one ruthless line. "If you keep asking, you can pay for it yourself." Fine, that move really worked. She instantly shut her mouth and puffed out her cheeks at her mountain of food. After she had swallowed down a tower of plates, he announced that he was full, even though he had not eaten a single bite. It was time to go home. With a ding, the elevator doors opened, revealing class monitor Huda. The timing could not have been more awkward. He saw Lu Baican standing there. Shimeng even innocently waved at him, but when Huda saw the two of them together, he was completely shocked. The two boys locked eyes, and the tension was so thick it could practically be cut with a crab leg. There really seemed to be sparks flying between them, while poor Shimeng stood in the middle, completely clueless. She cheerfully asked Huda, "What are you doing here?" He explained that his father had brought back some gift from overseas, and he had only wanted to deliver one to her house, but no one was home. Lu Baican's expression darkened. "Her house," he repeated. Shimeng instantly fell into a panic, realizing that she absolutely could not let him know that she was living with Lu Baican. So she made the only logical choice. She stomped hard on Lu Baican's foot. He collapsed in silent agony, while she simply smiled sweetly at Huda. She accepted the gift and rambled nonsense about how it was such a coincidence that they had run into each other. Huda, meanwhile, looked at the bewildered Lu Baican in the background. To smooth things over, she blurted out a terrible lie, saying that he was a student from her mother's painting class. That's right, he was just there for class, haha. As she spoke, she pushed Huda into the elevator, while Lu Baican tried to quietly recover from having his foot crushed. She frantically pressed the door close button, wanting only to end this encounter as quickly as possible. Huda said he was leaving, but before he left, he gently and reluctantly patted her on the head. Oh, Lu Baican did not like that. Not one bit. As soon as Huda's hand moved away, Lu Baican slapped his own hand on her head, almost as if he were declaring territory. Shimeng was completely baffled by this sudden head-patting battle. Huda waved goodbye from inside the elevator. But as soon as the elevator doors closed, his friendly smile vanished. He was definitely suspicious. Back in the hallway, Lu Baican muttered that he had checked that guy's background. Shimeng had already had enough and slapped away the hand he had placed on her head. She angrily warned him not to tell anyone that she was staying at his place. He merely sighed and said she was such a pain. Meanwhile, Huda was already making a phone call and plotting. "He's too close to her," he said. "I'll find another chance." This guy was very suspicious. Back at the apartment, Lu Baican told her to take the little cat and sleep in his room while he slept on the sofa. She accepted gratefully. She clung tightly to the little cat, but the moment he closed the door, his stomach let out a loud growl. Poor boy. He had watched her eat for an hour, while he himself was starving. On his bed, Shimeng tossed and turned, blaming her parents for making things like this, but also admitting that Lu Baican was actually a pretty decent person. Even so, she could not help being curious about him. She tried to sleep, but it was completely useless. She was wide awake. Suddenly, the door was pushed open with a bang. He stood in the doorway, looking down at her as he asked why she still was not asleep. Poor Shimeng saw him appear at the door and let out a piercing scream, but he just roared back, "Shut up." He was completely unaffected, covering his ears while she hugged her pillow, embarrassed and furious. "Why did you come in?" she stammered, her face bright red. He simply stood there calmly as if nothing had happened and asked why she still had not fallen asleep. She asked how he knew she was awake, and it turned out that her own cat had betrayed her. A flashback showed that our male lead had originally been patiently waiting for his midnight snack to arrive, but when the snack never appeared, his hunger quickly turned into rage. So he decided to personally investigate what had caused the delay. Back in the present, she used the traitor cat as a shield and told him not to come any closer, but he began advancing on her. His footsteps did not slow at all. He grabbed her by the collar, his face only a few centimeters from hers, then said the most terrifying words in a low voice. "I'm going to eat you." Her brain completely short-circuited, as if an actual mushroom cloud had risen inside her mind. Just as she was about to die from embarrassment, he stood up and simply left. What a menace. She dramatically collapsed onto the bed. Exhausted in both body and soul, she buried herself under the blanket and silently fumed. "Lu Baican, I hate you the most." But her traitorous brain immediately replayed that heart-stopping moment, making her blush all over again. This was impossible. She screamed into her pillow, her sleepiness completely gone. And so, one of them spent the entire night sleepless in panic, while the other was simply hungry. What a perfect match. The next morning, she poked her head out of the room and said she had a question. He was busy drawing and could barely be bothered to even glance at her. "What is it this time?" he asked. She explained that her school uniform was at home, so she could not go to school. His solution was simple and vicious. "Then don't wear it." Shimeng panicked, explaining that if she went without her uniform, that terrifying discipline teacher would scold her and give her nightmares. He sighed. He took out his phone and made a call. "I need a girl's school uniform delivered to my house within 10 minutes. He hung up as if nothing had happened, leaving Shimeng completely dumbfounded. Just then, her stomach let out a huge and embarrassing growl. Of course he heard it and immediately made another call. "Bring breakfast too?" he ordered, then hung up again. She could only pray that her parents would hurry back tomorrow and rescue her from this chaos. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. That delivery was terrifyingly fast. He turned his head and asked her, "Is that for you?" Before she could answer, he grabbed the back of her collar. She had not even reacted to what was happening, when he literally threw her into another room. "Stay in your room before I open the door," he warned darkly. Furious, she slammed the door shut with a bang. Frustrated, she slid down to the floor. "Like I'd listen to you," she muttered, reaching for the door handle. But the door opened from the other side, revealing a rather flustered older man. "Are you using me like some errand boy?" the man demanded. Lu Baican replied coldly, "Where are the things I asked for?" The man reluctantly handed over a bag. Then he launched into a strange lecture about women's clothing, earning a look of pure disgust from Lu Baican. "I can understand the clothes, but what's the breakfast for?" the man pressed. Lu Baican shut him down directly. "What did that have to do with you?" "I still have a meeting." After tossing out a quick goodbye, he slammed the door in the man's face. Lu Baican looked like he had completely had enough. Carrying the things, he walked back to her room. He pulled the door open and found her sprawled on the floor, exactly the same as when she had been thrown in. "Your breakfast is here," he said, setting the things down. She asked why Teacher Fong was running errands for him. His answer was simple and mysterious. "He owes me." Shimeng was so hungry, she was practically drooling over the table. She grabbed a bun, bit halfway into it, and asked the most outrageous question. "You're not Teacher Fong's illegitimate son, are you?" Without any warning, Lu Baican pushed Shimeng out of his apartment. He really shoved her straight out the door. Completely baffled, she demanded to know what had gotten into him, but he did not answer. He merely stuffed his heavy school bag into her arms. She asked why he was giving her his bag. He coldly told her to go to school by herself, because he did not want to go. Then, like a gentleman, he slammed the door hard in her face. Shimeng stood in the hallway, cursing him as an arrogant bastard. For a brief moment, she wondered whether he was actually helping her, since all her own things were locked inside her home. But forget it. He probably just wanted to skip school. She sighed. Then she set off alone. But behind the tightly closed door, Lu Baican called her an idiot, while his stomach growled loudly enough to wake the dead. At school, Shimeng appeared alone for once. This immediately caught the attention of her blonde rival. The girl smiled smugly and asked where Lu Baican was, while Shimeng was clearly in no mood to deal with her. The girl kept pressing, pointing out that she had come alone today. Shimeng ignored her completely and walked straight past, leaving the blonde girl looking shocked. Shimeng muttered that she did not want to walk side by side with someone who framed other people. Unwilling to be ignored, the blonde girl began bragging that she had won the last debate competition. But Shimeng shut her down with one sharp line, reminding her that it was her class that won, not her personally. All right, the flames of war were officially lit. The blonde girl grabbed her bag. Shimeng yanked the bag back and asked what exactly she wanted. The girl was still brooding over the debate competition, claiming she had not yet settled the score for what Shimeng had said about her before. But then she saw the second school bag, and her eyes widened at once. She demanded to know what exactly Shimeng's relationship with Lu Baican was. Shimeng merely threw her a cold, "None of your business," then turned and left, leaving her rival fuming with anger. Later, the school held a large extracurricular activity, a huge paintball-style battle royale. 1 hour earlier, the students had gathered to listen to a long and boring speech. Some of the boys were already extremely impatient and just wanted the game to start. At that moment, Shimeng, dressed in combat gear, was overjoyed by how handsome Lu Baican looked. Lu Baican, however, only looked hungry and tired. The principal finally got to the point. This was a life-or-death battle between 3-person teams, and the last surviving team would win 1 month of free meals. The students began forming teams. A teacher announced that only 6 people were left, then asked if anyone was willing to join Shimeng's group. Everyone immediately took one big step backward in unison. Lu Baican was completely bewildered by this collective rejection. One student, his face full of terror, begged his friend not to team up with her. The others began whispering that she was an absolute burden and had wiped out her entire team last year. Shimeng was furious. Lu Baican, meanwhile, decided that as long as she was not on Huada's team, that was good enough. He pointed at the frightened bald kid and ordered him to join their group. The battle began, and an enemy team charged straight toward them. One boy on her team screamed for the boss to protect him, while Lu Baican suddenly stopped in his tracks. He scanned the forest, feeling as if he had heard something. But when he turned around, he discovered that Shimeng was gone. His eyes widened in shock. Elsewhere, our poor heroine was calling for her teammates at the edge of a cliff, completely alone. She called out another teammate's name, but before she could react, a hand pushed her from behind. Shimeng lost her balance and fell straight off the cliff. Fragments of a nightmare flashed through her mind. A struggle, something sinister. She lay on the ground, alone in the darkness, terrified. That same eerie smile appeared, holding a syringe filled with an unknown liquid. Shimeng's eyes widened in horror as she realized what was about to happen. Then everything fell into darkness. Back at camp, the atmosphere was completely different. The students were setting up tents by the river, utterly unaware that anything had happened. Our male lead, Lu Baican, however, could not shake the feeling that something had gone terribly wrong. A love-struck girl from class tried to get his attention, calling him Prince Charming, but he ignored her completely and immediately broke into a run. He grabbed a classmate and asked anxiously, "Where is Shimeng?" Just then, a mud-covered kid appeared and held his hand. The kid explained that they had gotten separated, so he had followed Lu Baican back. Fear instantly overwhelmed him. In his mind, he thought, "Damn it, I should have stayed by her side the whole time." He pulled a necklace out from under his collar. It was a ring, a promise, and he would never break it. Ignoring his friend's shouts, he turned and ran away. Their promise flashed through his mind as he desperately called her name. He closed his eyes, trying to concentrate and find her. He stood at the edge of the woods, knowing she was somewhere inside. As he stepped into the pitch-black forest, a bone-chilling thought struck him. This was not just a bad feeling. This was a nightmare. Suddenly, a voice cut through the air. It made him whip his head around. A mysterious glowing weather vane appeared out of thin air. A strange voice told him that if he followed the pointer, he would find her. "Who are you?" he demanded, but the voice only urged him to hurry. With no other choice, he could only trust that miraculous GPS and charge into the woods. At last, by the riverbank, he found her. She was lying there unconscious. It was our poor heroine, Shimeng, completely passed out. He saw her. His heart pounded wildly in his chest, and the poor boy was sweating with anxiety. Fear and relief tangled together. After a moment of hesitation, he started running again. His eyes locked on her as he gasped for breath and called her name, quickly closing the distance. He did not stop for even a second and finally rushed to her side. Then he pulled her tightly into his arms, as if clinging to the last lifeline in despair. "She's okay," he murmured while checking her pulse and searching for any sign of life. On the cliff above, a shadowy figure watched them, a pleased smile rising on his face. "So you're a dream eater too," he sneered. Our girl's eyes slowly fluttered open. She woke up leaning against his shoulder, dazed and utterly confused. "What happened? Why can't I remember anything?" she asked. Meanwhile, our boy was casually munching on snacks beside her, looking as if his soul had left his body. Startled, she immediately backed away. She put a little distance between them, while he simply sat there. She asked about the game, trying to piece everything together. He finally swallowed the food in his mouth, stood up, and gently patted her head. "Thank goodness your brain is simple," he said with a gentle smile. And our girl, bless her heart, actually took that as a compliment. "That's my greatest strength," she announced proudly, then walked ahead. His smile faded. Guilt was written all over his face. He thought, "This is all my fault." That night, the camp was buzzing with excitement because of a special event. Everyone had dressed up carefully for the test of courage, including our girl, who was dressed as the snake-haired Medusa, while someone else was dressed as Sadako. An announcement came over the broadcast, saying the upperclassmen's test of courage was about to begin. The students were practically losing their minds with excitement, especially when they saw that the teachers had dressed up too. Honestly, that level of obsession felt very real. They all praised the teachers' amazing makeup skills. The rules were simple: form pairs, then race through the terrifying route in the forest. The screaming officially began. Our Medusa girl had already scared the boys out of their wits. Others suddenly jumped out of the darkness, creating classic jump scares. The entire forest was filled with chaotic screams. But Lu Baican was not here to play. He wore a tight black outfit that showed off every single muscle. Ups. He was tracking down the culprit behind the scenes. "That's right, we got another generous view of those six-pack abs. You're welcome." Our poor girl got lost in the woods at night and was trying to pump herself up. She chanted a spell, trying to be bold like a true delinquent in training. But apparently, her delinquent training did not include the lesson, "Watch where you're walking." So she slammed headfirst into a wall of muscle. Ouch! That was definitely going to leave a mark. She looked up and found a silver-haired pretty boy in front of her, wearing a tight superhero outfit. What on earth was going on? He glared down at her, not at all amused by this tiny human who had just headbutted him. Then, in a burst of pure chaotic energy, the two of them actually screamed at the top of their lungs together. He yelled at her, saying she had scared him, while our girl could only choke out a tiny apology. Oh no, his shouting was too much stimulation for her fragile little heart. The tears were about to fall. And just like that, the tough-looking big boy completely softened. He blushed, panicked, and had absolutely no idea how to deal with a crying girl. He tried to back away, but our girl clumsily took a step forward. Then she immediately tripped over her own feet. But don't worry, our flustered hero caught her in time. He pulled her closer, lowered his voice, and asked if she was okay. The tension was almost tangible. She just kept saying sorry, probably apologizing for her very existence at this point. Then she suddenly pushed him away and ran off. What a whirlwind of a meeting. He was completely bewildered by this strange girl who had crashed into him, cried, and then fled. Just then, two figures emerged from the bushes, having witnessed the entire chaotic process. Our silver-haired boy froze completely. He actually had an audience. The newcomers walked closer and declared that they had finally found him. The silver-haired boy's eyes flew wide open, and he gasped, "Brother." But this so-called brother looked utterly confused. So the silver-haired boy immediately changed his words and asked, "Who are you?" The pink-haired girl instantly exposed him. "Didn't you just call him brother?" Very sound logic. He tried to act calm, saying that guy just looked a lot like his brother, so and so, and such. But pink hair did not buy that nonsense for even a second. The older brother merely shrugged, claiming he had no idea what was going on. Oh, that answer was not going to work. The younger brother instantly exploded, demanding to know when this runaway brother of his was finally going home. He grabbed the other man by the collar and shook him furiously. The family drama had officially begun. He roared the question again, clearly at the end of his patience. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl just lounged there, completely unaffected by the brotherly confrontation happening beside her. Suddenly, our heroine popped out of the bushes again, asking Prince Charming for orders like some loyal subject. Everyone froze, completely unprepared for a sudden reappearance. The older brother took advantage of the distraction to announce that his pink-haired companion was hungry. Then he leaned close to her and whispered that he would leave early to personally take her home. Huh, is romance developing here? She looked genuinely surprised by the offer. Later, back at what seemed to be a dormitory or apartment, we saw the younger brother waiting there, and he did not look happy at all. He had been holding in his anger for a long time. The gloomy expression on his face could curdle milk. It turned out his older brother really had come back, but his casual attitude made the younger brother extremely unhappy. The younger brother looked at the cheap phone his older brother had bought him and sneered, questioning why he had come here in the first place. Big brother simply stood there with his arms crossed, calm as a cucumber. He said, "None of your business." That was basically pouring oil on the fire. And just like that, the older brother exploded, grabbing the younger brother's ear. "I came to take you home," he roared, saying he was done playing around. He complained about the mess his younger brother had left behind, especially the absolutely terrible food. The younger brother squirmed, trying to defend his life choices. "It's just food," he shouted. "How bad could it be?" Classic last words. The older brother's face instantly turned as terrifying as a demon's, and he forcibly shoved a piece of the culinary nightmare he had just complained about into the younger brother's mouth. The taste was so horrifying it seemed to rewire his entire nervous system. He immediately started retching violently. Yes, it really was that bad. After being utterly defeated, he humbly begged his older brother Baican to tell the truth. "What exactly did you come here for?" Baican sat there looking smug. He finally had the upper hand. A man was forced to kneel before his own brother while being interrogated about some dream-eating bracelet. But just as the kneeling younger brother opened his mouth, his older brother kicked him in the face, reminding him who was in charge of this interrogation. He tried to change the subject and asked, "Brother, didn't you assign me a task before you came here?" Their little family quarrel was suddenly interrupted by a knock at the door. Annoyed by the interruption, the older brother glanced toward the door. He whipped his head back and demanded to know what the younger brother had done this time. The younger brother started crawling toward a cabinet and said guiltily that it was actually not a big deal. He opened the cabinet door and pulled out a baby from inside. Stammering, he said he had accidentally brought him out. The older brother was utterly stunned. He gently set the child down, then exploded in complete rage. "Why did you bring him here and stuff him into a cabinet?" he roared, grabbing his younger brother by the collar. The younger brother tried to calm the furious man down, but when that tiny baby lifted his head and looked at him with the cutest, sparkling eyes, all his anger melted away. The little one even grabbed his sleeve, and the older brother was completely dazed by the sheer cuteness. He practically short-circuited on the spot from cuteness overload. And just like that, the cuteness attack succeeded. He was now holding the baby, yet still struggling to sound stern as he warned his younger brother that severe punishment was coming. The younger brother smiled smugly, saying that as long as he went home with him now, everything would be fine. But the older brother was not buying it and reminded him of the awful junk he had just eaten. He insisted he could not just leave now. "Fine," the younger brother said with a sly smile. "Then you're an accomplice." Now he had trapped him. "Since you don't want to help me, we'll just wait to be punished together." The baby crawled onto the older brother's head. His fate was completely sealed. He covered his face in frustration. "Give me a break." Meanwhile, our girl and her friends were riding home in the principal's own car. The man was so moved he almost shed tears of joy, thinking that staying behind to clean up the mess had been totally worth it if it meant getting to ride in the principal's car. The principal told them he could not let their hard work go to waste. In truth, he was secretly delighted because Lu Baican had had helped him out, meaning he would not be treated like a weirdo anymore. Our girl asked how he knew Lu Baican. He claimed Lu Baican was a relative's child and that he might have spoiled him a little, but as he sweated, he worried whether she was starting to suspect something. Then the scene flashed back to 1989, where a young student was walking while reviewing exam material. He suddenly felt dizzy and staggered. He did not notice that someone was watching him from the shadows. A man in a hoodie bumped into him head-on. The student looked up in confusion, but the man had already walked away. Only then did he realize his bag was gone. He shouted, "Thief! Stop him!" Then he broke into a sprint. He panicked as he remembered that his precious exam admission ticket was still in the bag. He chased the thief into a dead-end alley, already panting heavily from exhaustion. He begged the other person to return his bag. The thief merely sneered, pulled out a wicked-looking sharp knife, and slowly approached the terrified student. The poor boy only wanted to get his exam admission ticket back. The thief demanded all his money, but the student pleaded that he had none. He had prepared for this day for many years, but the thief did not care at all. He raised the blade, ready to stab down. The student closed his eyes, tears sliding down his cheeks, preparing for the end. But suddenly, something came crashing down from above. With a loud boom, the student stared in shock as dust and rubble burst outward. When the smoke cleared, he saw a mysterious figure calmly sitting on top of the unconscious thief. A mysterious person in a trench coat had cornered some poor guy on a rooftop. He pinned the man to the ground, looking extremely intimidating. The man struggled to get up, grabbed his bag, and tried to flee. He hurriedly checked his watch, his heart hammering in his chest. Only 5 minutes left. He collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He was not going to make it, but our silver-haired mysterious figure loomed over him from above, his voice low and dangerously calm. "Where are you going in 5 minutes?" Meanwhile, a plump man sat nervously in a living room, lost in thought. He was muttering to himself about something from the past when a sudden knock at the door startled him. He cautiously turned around. "Who is it?" he called. When the door opened, not one but two silver-haired pretty boys appeared, and one of them was even holding a baby. The man was completely speechless as he watched them enter his home. He simply stared blankly at the strange group that had suddenly barged into his living room, his face full of confusion. At last, he found his voice, pointed with a trembling finger, and asked, "Baican, you're already a father?" The baby was placed on the floor, looking like a tiny marshmallow, while the adults began discussing serious matters. The man, who was clearly the principal, was still angry. "I still haven't settled the score with you for making me act as your personal driver." But Baican waved his hand. "We'll talk about that later. I came today for something important." As he spoke, he gestured for his companion to explain. His friend cleared his throat. "Ahem, we discovered multiple cases of dream loss in this area." He explained that the family had sent him to investigate, but the principal looked very skeptical, as if they were just using the matter as an excuse to bring the baby out to play. That accusation was deeply irritating. "He was an accident," his companion shrieked, pointing straight at Baican with absolutely no mercy. He quickly calmed down. "Sorry, before I find a mastermind, I can't go back." "Then why did you come to me?" Baican explained that all the victims were students, then asked how many people had asked for leave recently. The principal said it was only the normal number for flu season, which also meant the culprit was very good at hiding. Baican asked him to investigate the students who had taken leave, hoping to find a clue, and gave them a name they could check first. Shimeng Wensun. The name dropped like a bomb, shocking everyone in the room. Just then, a woman rushed in, waving a salary card. "Where did the money go?" she demanded. She grabbed her husband's face and accused him of having an affair right in front of the guests, and apparently, she thought Baican was the mistress. Baican was completely unaffected by the chaos, and simply drank his beverage calmly. The wife finally noticed the handsome guests. "Who are these handsome young men?" she asked, her anger melting instantly. Baican immediately unleashed his charm with a radiant smile. "Madam, the principal is sponsoring me, that's all." This made the principal explode with jealousy. "Hey, don't seduce my wife." Baican decided they had stayed long enough, so he picked up the baby and walked toward the door. "We'll take our leave first," he said calmly. The wife was already completely enchanted and even cooed for them to visit again soon. Later, in the car, their driver was chatting away. Did this guest come from a comic convention? He thought to himself. He asked Baican whether he knew the cosplayers they had seen in the mountains. Baican denied it, but his friend leaned over with a wicked smile. "Not necessarily. Which one of them did you fall for?" Baican ignored the teasing and asked a question instead. "What did she look like?" His friend's expression softened as he described a slender, fragile girl with long, silky hair. That description triggered Baican's memory. A girl with long pink hair who sat near his class. Then everything suddenly clicked. His eyes widened in shock. No way. Lu Baican wanted to leave, but his younger brother immediately followed him out the door. He instantly grew impatient and demanded to know why the other was following him. But the kid directly asked in return, weren't they going to investigate the school? This made Baican even angrier. He slapped a hand against the wall, trapping his younger brother in a classic wall pin pose. He leaned in close and warned him that Lu Baican had been brought here because of his mistake, so he had better stay home and take care of him. Just as the tension between the brothers reached its peak, the door suddenly opened, and there stood our girl, Shimeng. She immediately took out her phone, her eyes practically turning into stars. A perfect photo opportunity. She thought, oh my, these two, so early in the morning. With a mischievous smile, she snapped a photo, scaring the younger brother nearly out of his soul. He looked her over, wondering why this girl was so chaotic and troublesome. But just as he reached out to take her phone, Baican mercilessly slapped his hand away and growled, "Don't touch her." The awkward atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. Shimeng simply looked at the brothers, a dark, shrewd gleam flashing in her eyes. She began working her charm, telling the younger brother that Baican often mentioned him. The younger brother panicked instantly and stammered, asking what exactly his brother said about him. Baican had no desire to continue the topic, grabbed her, and told his younger brother to ignore her because they were going to be late. He practically dragged her out the door, leaving his younger brother behind. The younger brother just watched them leave, completely stunned. But Baican was not done yet. He turned back and gave one final icy warning. "Behave yourself." The younger brother was furious and muttered under his breath, "Get lost." Later at school, Shimeng's friends were thrilled by the news that Lu Baican had a younger brother. Of course, their first and most important question was, is he handsome? Our girl merely sighed dramatically, thinking that her friends were completely hopeless. But what she did not know was that someone downstairs at the school was staring at them. It was the younger brother, hiding in the bushes like a total creep. He snorted inwardly, like I'd ever listen to your orders. Oomph. With suspicious ease, he climbed up the side of the building, stood on the rooftop, and took a deep, dramatic sniff of the air. He could sense them all, 409 humans, and the one I'm looking for is here. He walked toward the rooftop door, focusing on the girl's movements. Meanwhile, Shimeng came to the rooftop to look for her friends and found them lounging around up there. One of them even complained that lately they had forgotten all the serious stuff. Recently, the girls had all been gathering on the rooftop, ready for a major gossip session. One friend asked what another was holding. It was a list of the 10 scariest horror movies, perfect for giving yourself exciting dreams at night. Her friend asked if Shimeng was still thinking about their bet to finally make her dream. Shimeng was shocked. "Don't tell me you don't want to dream anymore." Our girl insisted that of course she did. She was just wondering why her friend was so obsessed with it. It was all because of their bet. Whoever successfully helped her dream would get an entire year of free meals, fully paid for by the losers. Shimeng's eyes lit up at the thought of becoming a free meal ticket, and her friend told her to work hard for it. Suddenly, a new voice came from behind them. "I see. What are you ladies talking about? It sounds interesting." The girls were all startled and looked over in shock to see Lu Baican's younger brother standing there. He gave them a charming smile and asked if he could join them. Her friends were instantly dazzled and all agreed. Shimeng, however, looked confused and asked what he was doing there, while her friends wondered how the two of them knew each other. She explained that he was the one she had just mentioned, Lu Baican's. Before she could finish, a hand appeared out of nowhere and grabbed the boy by the ear. He screamed in pain. It was Lu Baican himself, twisting his brother's ear as he confirmed, "That's right, this is my younger brother." While calmly apologizing for the interruption, he let his brother keep shrieking at the top of his lungs. Then he slammed the rooftop door shut, leaving the girls completely dumbfounded. Next, he started dragging his chaotic little brother downstairs. The boy protested desperately. "Brother, their plotline wasn't finished yet." But Lu Baican was not buying it at all. "Do you think I'm stupid? She'll have a nightmare tonight, and you'll eat until you throw up again." He kept dragging him away, then suddenly stopped and asked, "Where's baby?" His brother smugly asked when Lu Baican thought he had stolen it, clearly implying that he had gotten hold of the precious USB drive. Then he pointed out that what they were doing was way too much, so it was no wonder he could not go home. A sly glint flashed in his eyes as he said, "But I do have an idea." Beg me. Lu Baican looked like he was ready to kill someone on the spot. Cracking his knuckles, he asked what kind of brilliant idea he could possibly have. The little brat only winked mysteriously and said, "A young girl's love is always sweet and blissful, like spring." The silver-haired boy suspected that those strange disappearances were connected to the schools. Awful food and drinks. His younger brother cut in, saying that he was not the only one having problems with a host's dreamscape, and that it would still take some time to track down the target. He looked extremely gloomy about it. He estimated that it would take about 2 months to lock onto the other person. His younger brother instantly panicked and wailed that he would have starved to death by then. His older brother mercilessly reminded him that those people were in danger too. "This is all because you disobeyed orders and tried to solve this by yourself," he scolded. But he could not help muttering that he was still worried about her. After deciding to focus on the problem right in front of them first, he saw our girl and her friends down in the stands below. The little guy clicked his tongue and said she looked easy to fool, so it probably would not be a big problem. His older brother revealed that he had been doing everything he could to keep her in a good mood, even having to use the powerful dream ring. Suddenly, the little guy's legs went weak, and he collapsed to the ground from hunger. But that gave him a chaotic idea instead. He asked if she liked someone. His older brother confirmed it, and the little guy's face immediately lit up with a mischievous plan. "Let's create a few romantic opportunities for them," he schemed. An evil glint flashed in his eyes as he said that the sweetness in dreams of romance was especially delicious. His older brother clearly could not accept this chaotic energy at all, but the little guy was already beyond desperate and insisted that eating was their top priority. "What are you still hesitating for?" he urged. His older brother's grip tightened on the railing, his whole body sinking into inner conflict. The little guy began laying out his grand plan. They would arrange a chance for the two of them to run into each other, and if they were lucky, having them stay in the same room for one night would be the ideal situation. His older brother's knuckles turned white because he saw the boy she liked arriving below. The boy walked over to our girl and apologized for being late. They had all gathered there to take part in the third school taekwondo competition. Suddenly, Lu Baican sensed something in the air. A wisp of strange energy drifted past. He took a deep breath, trying to identify the scent. The little guy's eyes sparkled. "The one I chose is here." Down below, the taekwondo match began with a powerful kick. The girl's friend cheered her on, but the argument on the balcony was far from over. Suddenly, the boy who had just arrived looked up in shock. The Dream Eater was just as confused. The boy's head was now completely bald, shining like an egg. Both brothers were utterly baffled by this bizarre development. Lu Baican leaned in uncomfortably close and took a hard sniff of the bald boy. "The scent is right," he confirmed, but he was even more confused than before. Something was definitely wrong, yet no one could figure out exactly what. "Why did you shave your head?" the little guy asked. The boy smiled brightly. "Don't I look more rebellious? Do you like rebellious people?" Of course, the little Dream Eater was completely moved, thinking she likes me. He had now fully picked a side, cheering for the bald boy, while his older brother stood beside him, already completely speechless about the whole thing. The girl's friend asked Lu Baican if something was wrong. He explained that his younger brother was not good at recognizing faces and could only identify people by scent. The girl suddenly realized what he meant, remembering that he had not even recognized his own older brother before. She looked at him with a new layer of understanding in her eyes. Then he asked where Lu Mubai had gone, and her friend mentioned that he had taken sick leave today. But Lu Baican narrowed his eyes as a familiar scent rushed toward him. "The one I chose is here," he thought. The girl was a little worried because she knew Mubai did not usually take leave. He looked back toward the match, and a sense of unease gradually began to grow. Lu Baican seemed to have already made up his mind. His fists clenched with cold determination. Later that night, we saw him in a pure white room, holding his weakened younger brother. He asked whether the romantic dream had been created according to his request. The little guy confirmed that it was done. Lu Baican raised the dream ring, his face unreadable. His younger brother looked at him, then suddenly grew suspicious. "You didn't fall for her, did you?" he accused. "Direct hit." The little guy suddenly rushed out and ran away. This left our girl and her friends completely confused by the bizarre encounter. But the little dream eater had already locked onto the real target. It's her, he thought, a predatory smile appearing on his face. He was doing this not only for her, but also for himself. But suddenly his heart pounded wildly in his chest. He grabbed his shirt, his face full of pure confusion. Wait, did his heart hurt? He stood there, completely overwhelmed by this new physical sensation. Back in the room, his younger brother finally came out of that unknown device. Our male lead took off the strange ring he was wearing. His younger brother immediately rushed over, practically trembling with excitement. Let me see. But our male lead was completely unmoved. What is this? He showed what he had brought back, an ordinary piece of cake. His younger brother stared at it, utterly confused. That's it, he shouted. This is the heavenly delicacy you were talking about. But our male lead had already started eating, immersed in the sweet, sugary happiness, while his younger brother completely broke down. He just chuckled to himself, completely missing the point. His little brother was about to lose his mind. What did go wrong? He screamed. Clearly, his grand matchmaking plan had gone completely off track. He continued roaring in chaos while our male lead calmly scrolled through his phone, ignoring the whole farce. He stopped when he read something. To her, being with Lu Bai would be a dream come true, he thought. And what did our dense male lead do next? He searched sudden heart pain. The internet, in its infinite wisdom, told him he might have coronary heart disease, and this man actually accepted it. Just then, his younger brother snapped his fingers. A flash of inspiration hit him like a ton of bricks. I get it, he screamed. She likes someone else. Everyone, the shock was real. Our male lead just turned to look at him, completely blank. Later, he sat alone on a Ferris wheel, lost in the thoughts of a sorrowful boy. If this is what you want. He looked at our girl in the cabin ahead, together with another boy. She looked so happy with him. His heart broke a little, but he chose to grant her happiness. Then I'll make it come true for you. But in another reality, our girl stood before grave. Shixing, I miss you. Wait, the girl in the photo looked exactly like her. She placed a bouquet of flowers against the cold tombstone. Back at school, the atmosphere grew tense as everyone focused on their own assignments. In our class, the teacher announced that this was their last class before the exam, and their works would be graded. Our male lead, Lu Baican, decided this was the perfect moment to make a venomous comment. Your mother is a famous painter, so how come you didn't inherit even a bit of her talent? Our girl immediately fired back. Well, my dad is colorblind. She was a little flustered, but she held her ground. Her gaze landed on a strange little weather vane ornament on his desk. She picked it up, and a strange feeling surged through her. He looked at her, a trace of confusion flashing in his eyes. It just feels a little familiar, she murmured. He began to panic inwardly, wondering what this variable in her dream meant. She stared at the little ornament he had made and suddenly realized that it was exactly the same as the one Shixing once had. The connection sent a chill down her spine. Later, he blocked her path with a smug expression. Shimeng, I know you better than you think. She refused to back down and called him by his full name. Lu Baican. Who exactly are you? She pressed, her eyes burning with anger. A dark memory flashed through his mind, a laboratory filled with caged animals. He looked at a photo of her as a child, his face like a mask of pain and regret. He turned and scanned the stands, as if searching for someone. She was right there with her friends, completely unaware. Our girl declared that the sports meet was basically just a glorified giant picnic. She rummaged through her bag, probably looking for more snacks. Meanwhile, one of her friends told Lu Bai that it was his turn to join the relay race. Our girl, like an angel, handed him a chocolate bar so he could quickly replenish his energy. Lu Bai was stunned by her kindness. He thanked her and gave her a smile that could melt hearts. This simple gesture triggered a dark memory in Lu Baican from when he was very young and someone had given him food, while his face twisted into a mask of pure, undisguised rage. Just as Lu Bai was happily enjoying the snack, Lu Baican suddenly swooped in like a food-guarding vulture, snatched the chocolate bar away, and took a huge bite, muttering that it was his turn to go up next anyway. The others just stared at him, completely baffled by this childish move. Suddenly, the air filled with high-pitched screams. The boys looked around, completely confused by the sudden chaos. It was a huge crowd of fangirls screaming for their idol, Lu Baican, even holding up support signs. There was also a giant banner for the Lu Baican fan club. The level of dedication was truly astonishing. But wait, the opposing camp appeared. They cheered for Lu Bai, and called him the most handsome. The two fan groups went to war, and our girl and her friend ended up right in the middle of the crossfire. But one brave soul raised a sign that read Power Couple. And would you look at that? It belonged to the Lu Baican X-Mu fan club. The couple shippers joined the battlefield, and our girl's brain immediately short-circuited. The scene quickly flashed through the school board approving this chaotic sports meet, followed immediately by Lu Baican and Mu by shooting death glares at each other. That's right, her friend was right. These two absolutely could not get along. The broadcast announced that the second-year relay team should gather at the awards platform. The starting gun fired, and the race began. The baton passed smoothly from one runner to the next, everyone sprinting with all their might to take the lead. But watching from the sidelines was a smug group of student council members plotting to turn this into their final bit of fun. Back on the track, Lu Baican waited for his turn. Mu Bai shouted at him to just run and win. Even on the same team, the hostility between them was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Mu Bai passed the baton to Lu Baican, and the moment their hands touched, the Boys Love fan club completely lost it. After taking the baton, Lu Baican shot forward like a rocket. Once the race was over, he immediately looked for our girl and asked where she had gone. Her friend pointed out that she was taking part in a fun event, which turned out to be a race in inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex costumes. And there she was, our glorious heroine, waving from inside dinosaur number 2. Lu Baican could only sigh helplessly. Whatever, as long as she's happy. The boys could only watch in stunned silence. The starting gun fired. The dinosaurs began their mighty, wobbly sprint, and the scene was pure chaos at its finest. But disaster struck. Our girl's dinosaur foot tripped over a small stone. She stumbled and completely lost her balance. The poor dinosaur swayed dangerously, then began to fall, deflating into a sad and confused heap on the track. Our girl was trapped inside the costume, helplessly flailing her arms and legs. In the darkness, she began to panic, the stuffy prison nearly suffocating her. With one final desperate cry, the whole thing flattened against the ground with a snap. Her friend rushed over, calling her name. She was completely dizzy inside the collapsed plastic. Just as she was about to despair, a thin beam of light appeared, and the costume was torn open. The rip gradually widened, and her savior was revealed to be none other than Lu Baican. He pulled her out of the wreckage of the costume. She gasped, finally free and finally able to breathe again. In an unexpectedly gentle moment, he lightly patted her head while she recovered. Their friends were so shocked their souls nearly left their bodies, completely unable to understand what they were seeing. He could not understand how Lu Baican had managed to arrive so quickly. Later, Lu Baican held their first-place trophy and stood beside Mu Bai, who had also won. The tension between them still crackled with sparks, but the fan clubs kept screaming for them anyway, leaving the two rivals standing there in awkward silence.